The Next Level Podcast, from Lynn Studios on the Texas Gulf Coast.
Engineering, construction, design, and development. We're building Texas.
Let's get into it.
All right, Mitchell.
Yes.
We've already introduced you on a whole nother episode.
Yeah, I manage the ins and outs of the engineering business here. Sales, operation, finance. I have my hand in a little bit of everything. So,
all right. Today we're talking Windstorm Engineering.
Yes.
On the coast of Texas. Let's do it.
All right. What do you want to know?
Everything. I don't know anything. No. So there's this whole long certification inspection process. I say long, I don't know. It's different than if you're not building on the coast. So you want to talk about TDI, the catastrophe zone, what counties are and aren't, where it's required, and then what is required.
Okay. So I'll do my best not to make this sound super boring, but so in Texas, Texas Department of Insurance has established an area that they designate as the designated catastrophe zone. And what that means is any county that is currently touching the coast, minus Jackson County, is in that designated catastrophe zone. And typically what occurs is most homeowners think that my wind and hail coverage is provided through my homeowner's insurance. If I have Progressive, my Progressive policy is going to pay for my roof when the hailstorm comes in or the hurricane blows my windows out. Progressive is going to foot that bill. In the designated catastrophe zones, that is typically not the case. And 90% of the time, it's not the case. Those policies are funded by a state agency, TWIA, Texas Windstorm Insurance Agency. And what they do, the way I think about it at least, is TWIA is the money. They fund all the damages that are caused by wind and hail. And then TDI is kind of like the police, right? They make sure that the codes are being enforced. They give the engineers their appointed qualified inspector certification and all those things. They process the paperwork. They take care of the certifications. They have an online database that lists all the properties on the coast in the designated catastrophe zone that are certified and can be covered by TWIA. So that's the ins and outs of what's a little bit different when it comes to residential commercial construction on the coast versus if you were building more inland, Austin, San Antonio, most of Houston. There's a few parts of Houston area, Seabrook, LaPorte, and a couple small a couple small boroughs outside of Houston that are in the windstorm designated catastrophe zone.
There's a small area in Pasadena.
Yeah. Pasadena's one too. Yep. So that's the difference. And to get a new construction project or an alteration certified and on the TDI website as hey, this project's approved to be covered by wind and hail through TWIA, the state requires two things. One is it has to be inspected and all construction has to be in compliance with the designated code. For us, it's IBC and IRC 18. And the paperwork has to be filed and submitted to the state by an engineer. The state has their own inspectors that'll come out and do an inspection on a re-roof or a window for you, but typically they have a longer lead time. And if they come out to your job site and say you're doing a roof and you have to replace a rafter, or you're doing a siding inspection and you have to replace a stud, the state will not do any structural inspections for framing. So that's most of the time why the contractors, the homeowners hire us as engineers to go out and make sure that all the construction on their project is being done up to snuff.
I think one thing that's different about us, and correct me if I'm wrong or misrepresenting it, we handle the certificate process, right? As far as filing and all that.
Yeah, and it's even becoming more popular. Some of these municipalities and counties will require the contractor or the homeowner that is doing the work, a new construction or alteration, that they turn in what the state calls a WPI-1. The WPI-1 is a form that we turn in that notifies the state, hey, at this address, they're doing XYZ type work, and it's open. Once that work's completed, it's inspected, and we deem that all the work is in compliance with the code, then we file what we call, or the state calls, a WPI-2. That lets the state know, hey, all construction's completed. we're signing off on it. It was done. It's in compliance. And then the state will issue a publicly listed form that they call the WPI-8. And that WPI-8 form is the actual certificate that TWIA will use to cover the new construction, the alteration, the re-roof, the windows, whatever it may be for wind and hail coverage.
I wish I would have learned about it this way instead of the way I ended up learning about it. But
yeah, so there are a lot of misconceptions about the way the process is supposed to start, or the process is supposed to occur. One of the most common is construction starts before you call an engineer, before you call us, before you call the state to get educated on what the process is supposed to be. And then the project gets completed. You know, my dad is one of them. I'm an engineer. My dad did this, replaced his entire roof. We did not go out and do inspections on it. And then he got a letter in the mail from TWIA that said, hey, we noticed via Google satellite image that your roof was replaced approximately 6 months ago, and there's no certificate on file. You have 6 months to get the roof certified, or you're losing wind and hail coverage on your entire structure.
wow.
So then everyone panics. The reason we prefer to get involved up front is because once a project's completed, you have to bring us in to verify that it was constructed according to code. It can be very destructive.
You got to tear it apart to see.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how many, shingles that you've tried to lift up that have been set for over a year, but it's not easy, and it's difficult not to damage a shingle after you're lifting it up after a certain period of time. Worse than that is when a new construction project happens. You decide to build my dream home, and turns out the contractor I hired never got it inspected, never got windstorm insurance or whatever. Or at the time I thought, hey, I'm never going to sell this house. I'm paying for it cash. I don't need to have wind and hail coverage on it. I'll just take a risk. Well, in order to sell a house, and in order for it, the bank to put a note on the house that you're trying to sell, they're going to want to be able to get wind and hail coverage on that structure. So on like a new construction project where we have to go back out and verify it was built to the code, the standards of the code, it can be very destructive.
That's opening up sheetrock, right?
Yeah, removing sheetrock, installing shear walls if there were no shear walls installed. You still have to do the same with the shingles, the windows, the doors, all that stuff. It's a very time-consuming, costly, and destructive process.
Have you ever gotten into one post-construction? Oh, there's no clips and straps.
Oh, I would say probably 30% of the jobs that we get called out on to do post-construction inspections on, it wasn't constructed properly. So now you have to tear off all the shingles and replace all the shingles. You have to, tear out the bottom 4 foot and top 2 foot of all the sheet of all the sheetrock on the wall, so I can add clips and straps and hold downs and everything that's required to meet the uplift and lateral load requirements of the structure. And
that's expensive.
It's very expensive,
especially if you already paid for it once.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Wow. Yeah,
my advice is always, if you're trying to do any type of project on your personal home or your commercial structure or whatever it may be, it's 5 minutes to pick up the phone, call our office. We'll tell you whether or not we need to be involved, and if so, what the steps are to make sure that what you're doing on your property is in compliance.
Okay, so what does require and what does not require an inspection?
So TDI does provide a list of items that do not require inspections, and it ranges from replacement of handrails on stairs, fences. If I'm replacing less than 100 square feet of roof, if I'm replacing less than 100 square feet of siding, they're not going to require those items to be inspected and certified. There is a list available online. It's available on our website if you want to check it out. And it does provide a list of things that do not require inspections. Anything that is not 100% explicitly matching that list, you need to call us and, get it inspected.
Okay. So building a new home, start to finish, from breaking, not even before breaking ground till getting the keys, closing, moving in, all that stuff. How many inspections should I expect?
We like to get it done in 7, maybe 8. Sometimes it gets spread out to be more if there's deficiencies. But typically we can get it done in about 7 trips. And
I think a lot of people are surprised right now by hearing 7. They probably expect you come out once and
no. Yeah, we try to we like to see everything that goes in. And 7 is the ideal project. Like we go out and we're able to see multiple things on a trip. But the 7 is typically comprised of a pre-pour inspection. So before you lay any concrete, we'll go out and measure beam depth, check rebar sizes, rebar spacing, make sure it's in compliance and it matches what we have on our plans. The next one is our framing inspection. Go out and verify all the framing members match what's on our framing plan. Hopefully at that stage, you also have your clips, straps, and hold downs in place. Clips and straps are used to resist uplift on my studs and rafters. And then my hold downs are used to resist the overturning on my shear walls. We'd like for all that to be in place on that framing inspection. Next is our sheathing and decking. Go out and make sure all of our wall sheathing and shear walls are installed according to our, what we call our Windstorm plan. Check nailing patterns, nail finishes, all those things. The next one is going to be windows and doors. So go out, check, make sure the windows are installed. Product evaluation that matches the windows that you're using, fastener finish, fastener pattern for windows and doors. Next is usually the roof. Go out, check, if you're doing a metal roof, fastener spacing for your screws, clip spacing for your standing seam panels, nails for your architectural shingles. Next one would be our siding. If you're doing brick, verify brick ties and spacing. Hardy siding, nailing pattern for my hardy, finishes for my nails. Make sure that all the product that's being installed matches a product evaluation. And then my 7th and final is what we call our final. Any mechanical units, generators, windborne debris protection, all that's in place at the final inspection. And windborne debris protection is something that is, it's very commonly misunderstood. So for any glazing that we have on the project, the installation of the window has to meet a design pressure rating. So essentially, when the high wind event is blowing by my house, I have a difference in pressure from inside to outside.
High wind event, i.e. hurricane.
Yeah, hurricane, tornado,
right,
whatever.
Where we are.
Yeah, right. So I'll have a difference in pressure between the inside of the house and the outside. So it generates a negative pressure that wants to literally suck that window out of the wall. So what we have to design, or specify a window that'll meet that design pressure rating. However, that glazing that's on, that's part of the window, if I have a stud or a branch or a brick, or in Harvey
neighbor's lawn chair,
Key Allegro, they had clay tile missiles,
all from the roofs,
right? Clay tile roof missiles. Those can fly through, break the glazing, and then now that pressure is. I know exactly that pressure exchange is happening because I have a hole, and then
glazing is what us marketing folks call glass.
Yeah, glass. Sorry, glass. And it'll create a location where all that pressure is changing to equalize, and it'll, suck that wall out, suck that window out, and just turn into a mess. But what windborne debris protection is windborne debris protection isn't there to keep the window in place. It's to keep the windborne debris from, shattering the glass. Right.
Right. And so we spoke to it in a previous conversation, but the rule changed recently, and a lot of people got upset, got confused, got whatever. So the way I try to explain it to people at a very high level, 30,000 foot view, I'm sure there's exceptions to every rule, but if it's not impact glass, you need permanent fasteners. Right.
And I consider like permanent glass a form of windborne debris protection. It's more, cost effective. I don't like to use the word cheap, more cost effective to provide plywood that is attached to the structure using permanently installed fasteners. Around the window, you'll have studs that the plywood will attach to, and then you can tie it down with wing nuts or nuts and washers. We prefer the ply fast system when you can. It just makes the installation and removal of the plywood go very quickly and smoothly. But previously, you didn't have to have permanently installed fasteners. So you would have situations where contractor would just have a stack of plywood that was labeled for each window, and it was on the homeowner's responsibility to take that plywood, put it on the house, screw it in place, and hopefully that it holds after the storm. Well, now that portion of the protection of the home during the high wind event is much more simple, and it's also designed so like the fastener pattern that is used to hold the plywood in place is actually designed. as opposed to, I hope, Mr. End User installs enough fasteners to keep the plywood.
Screw on the top, screw on the bottom. Run.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Or, screw on the top into, hardy and wood framing, and then screw in the bottom into red brick, that's at different surface elevations, and then it could just, turn into issues. But we fixed a lot of that.
Breaks, the other one, then you have like this plywood mill on the front of the house.
And the plywood turns into the windborne debris.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a lot, right? And so from a homeowner perspective, that sounds overwhelming. So the thing that we want people to understand is we have relationships with contractors have relationships with us, builders. The idea is your reputable contractor that's building your home engages us. You don't deal with any of this. At the end, you get a certificate, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, I don't know if concerning is the right word, but it's also an eye opener for the end users. Like at the end of the project, like they get, an invoice from us, and they think, man, what have these guys been doing this whole time? Getting this in their minds, they're going through the building process. Building process, if is not a fun one. And now they're getting an invoice from the engineer who they think is just, trying to get a few extra dollars on the project. Typically, the end users aren't aware that we've been involved in the project from the very, very beginning. Like we did that, the foundation design, we did the framing design, we analyzed the building for wind load, and then we're out there pre-pour, framing, windows, doors, siding, roof, final. So yeah, we're heavily involved. Mm-hmm. We like to be as involved as possible. I mean, our favorite contractors are the ones that are always calling to schedule that inspection, as opposed to the contractors that get their permit and they call us at the end of the job and say, hey, we're ready for the certificate. And then we got to go back to let's open up some sheetrock and make sure it was installed properly.
Go get your saws off.
Right.
So you're talking about inspections. You touched on it earlier. Lead time for some is longer than for others. I know what we strive for, right? So if a contractor calls me on Monday, you want the inspection done
Tuesday.
Yeah.
And these projects, I mean, time is a killer. Right. Like if I miss my pre-pour on Tuesday and then it rains Wednesday to Monday, I got to send my concrete crews back out there, redig my beams, reset the rebar. That costs the contractor money. That costs the end user money. I mean, it just costs everyone. It's never fun.
Well, it delays the draw, right, that the contractor can pull.
Right.
What else does it do? It builds more interest on the construction loan for the homeowner, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, time is money.
Yeah. It is imperative that these jobs are getting done on time, and on budget.
So I know 24 hours is what we're trying for, right? Best case scenario, we got offices all up and down the coast. We got people, right? I've heard horror stories. I called 2 weeks ago, still haven't seen an inspector, not with us, but
right.
When people join our team and we, what were your pain points? Waiting forever for inspections, right? That's what we hear a lot. And you run the risk at some points, after 2 weeks of leaving something open to be inspected. I mean, damage happens, and especially when you're talking roofs, rafters, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So a few things that we do just to kind of make sure that the communication between us and the contractor, or us and the homeowner, or whoever is constant. Especially like you mentioned, I didn't even know if the inspector came out. Mm-hmm. So at a minimum, every time we go out to a job site, we're leaving some form of record that we were there and what the outcome of that inspection was. We call it our green and red tags. So if I go out from our framing inspection, we're going to leave a green tag somewhere on the job site. Hopefully have a job board, close to the road. We can put it there, or we'll put it in a Ziploc bag and hang it on the front door, put it on a stud or somewhere. But we'll leave a tag that lets the contractor or homeowner know what the status of our inspection was. Now, if we leave a red tag, we will follow up with that contractor or homeowner or whoever it may be and let them know what the issues are same day. Mm-hmm. That way there's no, you have pre-pour issues and you pour the slab the next day, and then we call you 2 days later and say, hey, you use number 4 bars when you should use number 5. Well,
it's dry.
It's impossible. Yeah, you're not going to pull those bars out and switch them out at that point. We also, with some of our contractors, we like to kind of tailor the experience to meet what makes their life easier.
Mhm.
So some of these guys, they don't like email. So if we email them an update on an inspection or what may be, they don't look at their emails every week. You know, they want that personal phone call from the inspector that they've developed a relationship with and say, hey, talked with your framing sub, went over XYZ. He's going to take care of it. When it's done, call me. We'll get back out and give you the green tag. So yeah, I think that's important. Another thing that we do is, I mentioned this on the last one, but we take advantage of our CRM system,
Oh,
HubSpot.
yeah.
So if you call our office, every person in the office, Bay City, Edna now, Rockport, Corpus, everyone knows what the status of your job is. So if, Steven, one of our Rockport inspectors, goes out to your job and he passes it, you can call the Bay City office, call the Edna office, and you can get an update on what the status of the job is. Your homeowner, contractor, whoever.
Just by searching the address.
That's right. Yeah. So it just makes it easy. More people are in the know. You don't have to just talk to that one person who might be out, sick, or his wife had twins, or whatever it may be.
Well, another thing that has cut down on, at least what I've heard in the hallways and whatnot, is, these handwritten notes shoved in a folder somewhere, right? Like,
yeah.
like we type it up, it's in HubSpot. I don't have to worry about reading somebody else's writing.
Yeah, I haven't seen a
spilling
folder.
coffee on it.
I haven't seen a folder that wasn't lost. They're always lost.
Yeah.
Left in someone's truck, left on the job site, blew off a roof.
No moss.
We've seen all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. The way I came to learn about Windstorm was through Lynn Engineering, but only because I had to hire you guys to fix something before I worked here.
Right.
But what we kind of touched on misconceptions, but what do people need to know? Like, if you could, the one highlight of, if you don't take anything else from this conversation, I want you to take this.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, it doesn't hurt to call and get the information that you need
before you start. Even if you're thinking about it,
I might do this project, I might not. Just call the office. We have a ton of people here that'll help you out and educate you on what the process needs to be.
Want a pergola on my back patio? Call
the office. We will point you in the right direction. And I think another misconception is, Windstorm is a pain in the butt, so to speak. And people just like, I don't want to deal with it. It's going to figure itself out. I'm going to do what I want to do. And, 6 months down the road, it'll take care of itself. That is not the case. I mean, maybe it was the case 10 years ago. But now, these, TWI is getting very smart. They do not like handing their money out if they don't have to. So they have agents that are constantly checking on these properties. They have satellite images of roofs, walls,
satellite, right?
Yeah. We're getting, I would say we probably get 5 jobs a week where client comes in and they say, hey, I got this in the mail and it's a Google image of my roof, and TWI says they're going to cancel my wind and hail coverage. Well, a lot of times they show up and they've had 6 months to contact us, and they contact us a week before the 6 months is up. They didn't contact us before they started the work. And, it's just a bad situation all around. So,
well, we talked a lot about Windstorm. Let's talk about something else.
One last thing I will add. It's, if you're just calling for information, and not that I'm somebody special or the other engineers in the office are somebody special that you just can't talk to, but we have every person up front, every one of our inspectors are trained up to answer these Windstorm questions. Does this need an inspection? What's the process if I want to do an addition? I want to build a new house here. What steps should I take? You have contacts for, floor plan designers, architects, whatever. You don't need to talk to an engineer to get those answers. We have done, in my opinion, and I'm biased, I think a really good job of training all of our people up to answer these questions for you. Mm-hmm. So.
No, I agree with that. I hear it every day up front. I dare say they know more than most.
Yeah.
because they answer these questions every day.
That's right. That's right.
And no, I 100% agree with that. So, all right, moving out of Windstorm because my brain hurts.
Yeah, hopefully that wasn't too much.
No, I mean,
We didn't even
it
get
was
to
good because I mean, you can get real deep in the weeds.
Yeah,
with it.
we'll talk about, main wind force resisting systems next week.
How many nails per shingle, right?
Always 6.
See?
Don't let them put 4.
See?
Always 6.
Go real deep in the weeds. Yeah. Okay, what are you reading?
Oh, right now I am reading. I got to check my Audible. I don't know. I finished the Atomic Habits. I don't think I've started a new book this week. I got a new credit though.
Oh, you were slacking.
I don't know. What's on my wish list? What am I about to?
You were telling me about a book the other day. Was it Churchill or?
Yeah, so that one's Splendid in the Vial, and I finished that one. The other one I was telling you about was 5 Days in May.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, May 1940. I read that one a few years. I just recommended that one to Cameron, actually. I'm trying to see my wish list. What's my next one? I don't know. I got a long list. I promise I'll have one next time.
Okay.
Maybe Trust, Hernan Diaz.
Okay. So those of you avid podcast listeners, I'm totally still on that. I think Tim Ferriss asked everybody what they're reading, but
yeah, I don't listen to Tim Ferriss.
Really?
I just never started it.
I'm the loser that can never get into Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, he doesn't ask about books.
No,
no.
But actually, he does. Like I've heard him before. Like
I mean, he probably reads, but he doesn't ask about the book. I'm not
a Joe Rogan faithful. I like his content. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm anti-Joe, but I don't have 3 hours of my time.
Yeah, it is a long podcast.
Yeah, I know people play it in the background and all that, but I don't know. It just is not one that has stuck for me.
Yeah.
But so speaking of podcasts, what are you listening to?
I'm let's see. Football season's over, so all my Cowboy podcasts are over.
Technically the Super Bowl's this weekend.
Yeah, the big game.
Oh, we can't say that. Yeah, I have to edit that out.
The big game.
I'm gonna bleep it out, like radio edit.
Yeah, I
Chiefs or Eagles?
Chiefs, I guess. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I absolutely despise the Eagles.
Yeah.
But I just don't want the Chiefs to win. So
can they both lose?
Yeah, can they both lose? I wish that, I mean, last week I wanted the 49ers to lose, and they did that for me. So they played terrible. I think I brought this up last time I was on, but the Huberman Lab podcast. Right, yeah. I've been listening to him, but his, again, they're like 3 hours. I mean, you got to like really prepare. I typically fly to Grapevine every week. So that's the time I get to listen to podcasts and audiobooks. And I didn't travel last week. So I didn't listen to anything.
Gotcha. Well, awesome, man. Thank you. Again, to anybody listening, anything you want to know about, send us an email. It'll be in the show notes. hello@lyngroup.com. We have had people ask for Windstorm, so there it is. We'll have more fun with this as we go. But again, thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, smash
the like button.
Yeah.
Ring those bells.
Oh gosh, I gotta edit all of that out now. But yeah, leave us a review. Thank you for listening. Suggestions, let us know. hello@lyngroup.com. That's next level.